Last week, Facebook CEO Mark Zuckerberg made what many are calling a thinly veiled shot at Donald Trump's presidential campaign. Without mentioning him by name, Zuckerberg used the F8 Developers Conference in San Francisco to emphasize Facebook's mission to connect people worldwide and had this to say.
As I look around and as I travel around the world, I'm starting to see people and nations turning inward against this idea of a connected world and a global community. I hear fearful voices calling for building walls and distancing people they label as others, for blocking free expression, for slowing immigration, reducing trade, and in some cases around the world, even cutting access to the internet. It takes courage to choose hope over fear.
Meanwhile, inside Facebook, political discussions have seemingly been even more pointed. Gizmodo reports last month some Facebook employees used a company poll to ask Zuckerberg whether the company should try, quote, to help prevent President Trump in 2017. Here to talk through Facebook's position and power in the race so far, Tim Stenovec, a technology editor and reporter, is with me now from Seattle. Thank you so much, Tim, for joining us.
Great to be here.
Now, obviously, this is stirring a lot of debate. In the larger context of Silicon Valley and Zuckerberg's comments, how does Facebook seem to be treating the powerful and unique space that it holds, in your opinion?
Well, what Facebook says is that it's a neutral organization. It's a neutral party. But we have to think about the power that Facebook has and where Facebook is in the political discourse today. I mean, Facebook is incredibly powerful. More than 1.5 billion people around the world log into it every single month. And it's not just about the power that Facebook has because it has a great number of people, but what people see on Facebook. And Facebook totally controls that. Facebook's algorithm controls what you see in your news feed. And Facebook has been known to change different signals to show you different things. It could show you different types of news. And that's really what this employee was asking. Does Facebook have a responsibility to prevent Donald Trump from being elected president?
It's fascinating, isn't it? Because I think a lot of people don't understand that that algorithm is in place, first of all. But also, Tim, what does this signal about the role Zuckerberg is looking to or maybe willing to play in politics?
No, that's a really good question. And Zuckerberg hasn't said specifically if he supports any candidate, and he does have a PAC, but he hasn't been clear, and the PAC hasn't been clear about what candidates it supports this election cycle. In the past, he's donated both to Democrats and Republicans. But if we listen to his rhetoric and what he's been saying, not only last week at F8, but also in the past, Zuckerberg is pro-immigration. Silicon Valley is pro-immigration. It's very important that Silicon Valley gets the best talent from around the world. So it's very important that those companies come together to support immigration reform. You know, Zuckerberg is also very interested in connecting around the world. And that doesn't just mean different leaders and the populations of different countries, but it also means opening up the conversation between different people. Facebook is not available in China right now, but Zuckerberg has actually learned Mandarin, and he has family that's Chinese, and there's no question that the company is interested in operating in China and is working on a way to do so. So it's not just domestic politics, but Zuckerberg thinks about Facebook and his role on the global stage as well.
Well, yeah, because Facebook is still a business at the end of the day.
Oh, no question.
Right. So you touched on this a little bit ago. It's used by more than 1 billion people worldwide. Politicians are spending more and more of their budgets just to advertise. Do they have a legal responsibility to give an unfiltered view of what's happening in their network?
They actually don't have a legal responsibility. They essentially have First Amendment rights, the same rights that are given to newspapers. But the point that's made in the Gizmodo piece, which is a very important point, is that people know the ideological positions of newspapers. You know what you're going to get, the difference when you're going to, read a paper like the Washington Post or the New York Times versus a paper like the Wall Street Journal, or maybe even a publication like The Blaze, or a more conservative publication like the Examiner or the Washington Examiner. People understand the ideological positions of these publications. People don't necessarily understand the ideological positions of a company like Facebook. And maybe there is an ideological position, maybe there's not one. The company is not transparent with that, and it says it doesn't need to be. It says it's neutral, but there's no question that the company can influence the type of content that's seen in the news feed. Over the last few years, people have completely changed how they've gotten their news. A lot of people just log into Twitter or Facebook in the morning, and there's no question that this is a company that's very important in how news is disseminated. A lot of news organizations rely on Facebook for that traffic, for those eyeballs. So Facebook can control what shows up in that news feed through its algorithm, and there's no question that it's an increasingly powerful force, not only in news in general, but in politics as well.
It's a good point. That was one of the other potential talking points at this conference, was that maybe there's too much news sharing on the site, not enough connection and personal moments that go on Facebook anymore, and that's what the original intent was. What are the potential implications here, given that with Facebook, you don't know what you're not seeing or how a potential bias may be affecting how you're viewing your network?
Oh, there are big implications. There's an issue that you have that with a network like Facebook, or even with a company like Google, because Google does change your search results depending on your search history, your Gmail, where you've been, and other things that it knows about you, that you're only seeing news that you agree with, that you're only seeing news that shares your own views. And that's up for debate, and that's actually a really big question that a lot of people have been dealing with over the last few years. What you see on Facebook, is that actually helpful to broadening your own horizon? Are you only seeing things that you agree with? And here's the thing about Facebook. Every time you click like, every time you comment on something, every post you look at or you click on or you engage with, Facebook records that as an interaction that you had with Facebook, and that data point will be used to further give Facebook more information about what to show you in the future. It knows that you like certain content. It knows that you like certain articles. It knows that you like certain politicians. It knows that you like articles posted by certain people, and all that will be used to show you what Facebook refers to as more engaging content. But what's engaging isn't always necessarily what's best for the person. And that's something that Facebook will continue to have to deal with. Is just because something is interesting and engaging, does that mean that it's actually going to serve the greater purpose of helping you make an informed choice about a civic responsibility or an issue in your community, or an issue like a presidential election?
Well, they must know that I have no political affiliation. I am an unbiased journalist, because I am seeing everybody's point about everything on both sides of the aisle.
Yeah, we're seeing a lot of that right now.
Tim Stenovec, thank you so much for joining us.